Title: Roots in the Ruins. Number the hook. A thunder of rejection. I can still smell the stale coffee in the air. Hear the way my mother's voice cracked as she spat out the words I'd hoped were just words. Cultivating mushrooms in a city. That's freaking ridiculous. You're wasting resources we could use for, I don't know, something real. The phrasing held a sneer, a finality I'd never forgotten. It wasn't just rejection, it was a war cry. They weren't doubting me, they were defining me as wrong. It had all come down to that day. My presentation at the Urban Agriculture Summit. I'd spent months perfecting a method to grow nutrient-dense mushrooms in repurposed industrial spaces, transforming concrete wastelands into edible ecosystems. But when I showed my data, how we could ship produce to food deserts, regenerate soil, create jobs, the room had erupted. Not with applause, with scorn. My colleague, Dr. Voss, his eyes gleaming with the kind of venom only ambition can breed, had whispered to the audience, "This is a fad, Miss Blackman, a distraction from real solutions." They'd ignored me. Instead, they'd applauded her proposal. Genetically modified wheat, designed to solve hunger quickly, whatever that meant. Afterward, my family was there to celebrate. Instead, they sat across from me at the cafe, their silence cutting deeper than words. My father, ever the pragmatic one, forced a chuckle. "You know, some people just need to find their place. This isn't your place." They all nodded. My younger brother, Jake, stared at his plate, waiting for a cue to mock me. He didn't. Instead, he said, "Mom's right. You'll end up broke and alone." That's when I realized they weren't just disparaging my dream. They were unraveling me. Number the departure. Chasing ghosts, I packed my bags that night. Not out of desperation, but resolve. If they couldn't see my dream, I'd find a way to make them see me. I left the city for 2 years. Moved to a vacant lot outside Richmond, scraping together funds to build my first mushroom farm. That grassroots co-op became the cornerstone of my work. But the derision didn't end. Epsilon Iota migrant forums called it utter nonsense. TikTok videos mocking my "grandma grows fungi" aesthetic went viral. "You're turning abandoned space into a fairy garden," one woman sang. "Is this the best we've got for climate change?" But I kept going. Each harvest was a battle. I learned to coax mycorrhizal networks into cooperating. I battled mold, funding gaps, and the existential dread of wondering if I'd ever justify my place in a world that treated my work like a hobby. Then one summer, something shifted. A viral video of children in a South Philadelphia school harvesting their first mushrooms went viral. My mushrooms. They weren't some Instagram pretty thing. They were food. Nutrient-dense, hyperlocal, sustainable. The school district used them to feed 200 kids. I called it Operation Feast in the Ruins. Suddenly, people weren't just watching, they were using it. Number the ascent. The alchemy of soil and soul. The hate didn't vanish, but it became irrelevant. I worked 18-hour days, training women from the homeless shelters to cultivate mushrooms in their apartments. We turned parking lots into micro-farms. I partnered with a food bank to distribute the harvest, pound of cordyceps mushrooms for $2. The money flowed. So did the respect. But the real turning point was when Dr. Voss's company crumbled under accusations of data forgery. The company that once tried to bury my research now booked press conferences to apologize. They called it a lesson in integrity. I didn't care. I'd already built something better. One night, I got a call from the city council. They wanted to use my model for a $5 million revitalization project. The land in question, the same dump where my first farm was born, but this time it was official. I didn't accept. Not out of humility, I'd long since stopped seeking their approval, out of purpose. I wanted to show them what victory looked like. Number the rain. A harvest of truth. 5 years later, the transformation was undeniable. My network of urban farms spanned 10 cities. I'd become a professor at a time when academia had nearly spat me out. My book, The Fungal Turn, sits on 40 library shelves. But the moment I'd spent waiting for was today. My family stood in front of my latest project, A derelict warehouse turned into a year-round mushroom orchard. Inside, shelves basked in lead light. Thousands of mushrooms glowed in vibrant shades of orange and indigo. My brother Jake was there, bigger and shabbily dressed, but his eyes were wide. My mother's fists were clenched, trembling with a mix of pride and something else, guilt. You actually did this," Jake whispered. I led them inside. "Watch." A journalist snapped photos as we walked past a table loaded with 50 pounds of dried shiitake mushrooms. A man named Marcus, once a grumpy retail store owner who'd funded my first lab, thanked me. "This changes everything. We're not just feeding people, we're healing the city." Then she said what I'd feared and hoped for, the words that had haunted us all. "Miss Blackman," my mother began, voice cracking, "we were wrong." The room fell silent. My father joined in, his usual stoicism shattered. It's everywhere. The food, the jobs, the air. You didn't just prove us wrong. You built a blueprint for the future." Jake swallowed hard. I used to throw your bags of mushroom spores in the garbage. I didn't realize. I didn't ask for more. I had everything I needed to walk away, funding, validation, a legacy. But I didn't. Because the gravest kill of this journey wasn't the sabotage or the mockery. It was the waste of potential caused by people like her family. Number, the return. Karma's ledger. We left that day with a letter. Not an apology. A promise. We failed you. We underestimated your mind, your vision, and your courage to keep going even when the world tried to silence you. We will do everything in our power to support your work now, and to every doubter you face we say, listen to the proof. My brother still teases me about it. "You scared the hell out of them, huh?" I laughed. "No, they're still the same people. But now they see what they missed." Years later, I'll never forget the look on her face when she handed me a small bag of mushrooms from her own garden. She'd started cultivating after seeing me. "For the kids," she said. I took them, lips tightening. Karma, I thought, not as punishment, as proof. Epilogue. Now, when I lecture on sustainable innovation, I don't speak of failure or forgiveness. I talk of the audacity to rebuild a world when no one else will. My family's derision was a storm I weathered alone, but their regret became my compass. And every time I see a city corner reclaimed by green, I remember. The humblest dream, when carried with relentless grit, can outlive the loudest doubts. Word count: 998.